All right, well, we are doing some more non-Sudokus again today. As some of you might recall, a couple videos ago, we did some toss square, which was posted as part of a Gap genuinely approachable pencil puzzles. And they are starting to post these every day. And I thought it might be fun to do some of them, so I've just gone back to the last few days and pulled out the Gap puzzles that were posted on the Cracking the Cryptic Discord server. If you're not part of that, link in the description if you want to join. And there's lots of great puzzles on there, even if you don't follow Cracking the Cryptic, which most of you probably do. So we're just going to do a few of those puzzles, and some of them the genres I'm familiar with, some of them I'm not familiar with, and we'll learn them together. So should be interesting. So the first one we're going to do is called it's a Pentominous puzzle by Turganus. And I know we've done puzzles by Turganus before, so some of you will be familiar with that name. And the rules, by the way, all the rules for these puzzles, I am getting from, let's see if I can find it, there. This is a document put together by Eric Fox, who is the creator of F Puzzles. Many of you will be familiar with F Puzzles. And Eric has put together this document that's just a list of rules for all of the puzzles. And he's tried to, kind of make them nice and succinct and not real long and complicated, but still, and easy to understand is the idea. So, all right, so back to the Pentominous puzzle. So Pentominous, you're dividing the grid into regions of 5 orthogonally connected cells so that no two regions of the same shape share an edge. So pentominoes are just 5-cell regions. So a domino is a 2-cell region, like this, right? A pentomino just has to be 5 cells. It could be something like that. That would be a P-shaped one. And they all have names. There's the W shape looks like this. It's kind of like a tilted W. All right, so there's the options for the different pentominoes and their letters. And so I'm going to give this a try. Link in the description as usual. Let's reset our timer. And we'll see how this goes. I've done Pentominous before, but probably only once or twice. And I don't feel like I really knew what I was doing for sure. So we'll learn this together. So we know the Z shape seems like a good place to start. Because it's in the corner, it's going to be pretty limited in what you can do. So we could do something like that. Now, because the Z, you've got these 3, and then the other 2, the ends stick off opposite directions. And so, I mean, just by the nature of, let's just look at this one by itself. It takes up, its overall footprint is a 3x3 box here. Like, there's some missing things, but it's going to be 3 wide by 3 long somehow, right? And so it's got to be, in this box, essentially. And so, because it has to touch the Z, and it can't extend out of the grid, so just by the nature of, physics, it has to be in there. And the only way to avoid the V while also hitting the Z is to do something like this. So I think that has to be the Z one. And now, my dog's running laps outside. And now the V becomes interesting because the V is this type of shape. And again, it takes up, because we have to come away from the V. The V can't be the point of the V because it would extend off the grid up there. So we're going to have to go 3 cells. It's got to be like that. I think that's the only way you can do the V. And now we've definitely got to have these 3 part of something. And it's going to have to extend out there just because those 4 have nothing else to connect to. Now we can't keep going to the P because then we would have an I shape with a P in it. So this has to turn, making that an L shape. And that's okay. Now this cell is kind of isolated here, so it's got to be part of the N. Now the N is kind of 2 and 3. It's sort of like a shorter L with a little jog. And so once it turns, if we come down 2 and turn, then it would have to extend down this way. So we can't do that, and we can't turn that way. So it's got to keep going. So this has to be the 3-cell leg of it, and it's got to then do a little doot, which would hit the T, or the other way. So it's going to go there. Now these up here, again, these two have nothing to connect to. They've got to come out this way. We can't connect to the V because you'd have 4 cells, and the V is only, 3 cells on each leg. So we can't connect to the V, so it's got to turn here. Now it's could be an N. What else could it be? It could be, is there anything else it could be? I think this one has to be an N now, doesn't it? I think that's the only option, because the Z, it would stick out this way. Oh, it could be a V. It could be a V. It could go over there. So it's got to come down or over. We're not sure which one. One of those two. But this V, it could do that, couldn't it? Or it could do this. But either way, we have to have those 3 in there as part of the V. But if it comes over here, it forces that one over, and then you have 2 V's. Oh, this one, yeah, right. This one can't be a V. We said this could be a V or an N, but it can't be because it's going to be touching a V for sure because it's right there. So it has to be an N, which makes this V that way. Now the T is going to fit nicely in there. Let's see, should we look at the Y maybe? Yeah, the Y needs to have, a 4-cell row, and we can't go vertically, so we can't go up, we can't go down, we can't go vertically either direction, I guess. So it has to go at least here. It could go one more there, couldn't it? Or it could extend this way. But this has to be the 4-cell, and so then you need the little sticky off part. I don't know what to call it. So we could go there like that, or if we come over here, it would stick up there. I'm not sure which one, but we know those are in there. Now the I has to be 5 cells long, and obviously it cannot go vertically, so it's going to have to go horizontally. So we could have 2 over here. It has to have at least 3 here. And then we don't know which other ones. But that tells us the Y now can't come here because you'd have to have the little sticky up part in one of those two. So it has to go this way, stick up there. Now that gives us the rest of the I. These cells, are forced to be an L over here just because there's nothing else they can connect to. Now the F is going to have to be part of that. The F needs to have 3 cells with 2 sticking off the sides. So again, it can't really, the 3 can't be vertical here. And if you come over here, now you've got 2 coming off to the one side, and you can't do that. So the 3 has to be this direction. And then you need a sticky off piece at one end. I don't know what to call them. That's what I'm calling them. And so it's got to be at this end, and it has to be the opposite side of the middle arm. Maybe an arm is a better name. Okay, so should we look at the N now? Or maybe the Z. The Z down here? Because remember, we had problems up here with the Z being close to the edge. So this has to be part of a 3x3, right? So it could be in here, or it could be in here. But it's got to go, it could do that. And the thing is, the 3-cell part is in the middle of the 3x3 grid. So it's got to be either there or there. Or there. But if it was there, to connect to the Z, it would have to then connect to the N. So it can't be that. And if it's like this, it's going to miss the Z. So it's got to be here. That way. That's the only option. So now this has to come up out of here. We've got an L in here just because that's the only thing that any of those cells can connect to. This L, well, it has to come up there and over. That's the only way to complete that L once you have 3 cells over here. The N now has to be, we have to avoid the W, so it's got to go this way. Now the W doesn't really have, well, it could go here, right? Or it could go here. So it's got a couple of options. But for sure it has to connect that one to the W. What about the U? What can the U do? The U has a few options. It could be here. It could be here. It could be here. So maybe the U isn't the place to look. What about the X? The X, in And the X is kind of weird because it's kind of an X on its side at an angle, kind of like the W. They're at an angle because it's really more of a plus sign in the grid. It's going to be something like this. So, well, yeah, and so you can't have it be in the middle because it would connect to the cell down here that has to connect to the W. It does have to connect to the W, right? Yeah, it does. So the X has to be on, kind of one. Ooh, but it could be here though, or up here. Okay, so this cell right here, what can it connect to? It can't connect to the X, right? And so if it doesn't connect to the W, then it's gonna, if it doesn't connect to the X or the W, it's got to come up here like this. And now, oh, that could work though. That could be an N with the X. No, because then where does the W go if the X is down here? Nope. Nope. So this has to be part of the W, which then means the W goes there, and this has to connect there. So, and it can't be part of the P, because that's not how the P shape works. So this has to be the X. This all has to be part of P. Now, these have to come out here. So the U can't go that way, the U can't go that way, the U has to go here. And this is an N. And there we go. Our solution is correct. Hooray. All right. Very nice. Now, I know that was way over the suggested times, and that's okay. I'm not worried about it. Yep, so it was 2:15 and 5:45 were the two times, but that's okay. We were still learning the genre. Those times are really more for I think people that already are familiar with the genre. Yeah, so we're not going to worry about times. We just want to finish puzzles and enjoy them. So that was Pentominous. All right, and here is our next puzzle. This is an Akari by Freddie Hand. And on Akari puzzles, we are placing lights. And so we're on Puzzlink here, so you can just click and place a light. And essentially what we're doing is we're placing lights, and they illuminate all the cells in their row or column. Right? Something like this. Now, lights are not allowed to shine on each other. These two would be shining on each other. That's not allowed. And the numbers are telling us how many lights are adjacent to that cell. So this cell with the 0 has to have 0 lights touching it. This one has to have 1 light touching it. It could be there or there, but you couldn't put 2 like that. And we have to light up the entire grid, and that's it. That's all the rules. I'm going to give it a try. Let's see, reset our timer. Here we go, like usual. So one of the first things you can do is just put in the dots mean you can't put a light there, essentially. You right click to do that, and just put those around the zeros. That's usually the first step. And then the 3 down here, I mean, it's a gimme, essentially. We get 3 lights there because you can't put one on the 4th side here. And now this 1 only has 1 option, which goes there. This one only has 1 option. Now the 2 only has 2 options. That one only has 1. Now this 1 is going to have a light at the top or at the left. Either way, the light is going to illuminate this cell, so we can mark it as not a light, because you're either going to have a light there or there, and either way it illuminates this one. So now this 1 has to have 1 there. And now the interesting thing is this cell right here. How are we going to light this cell between the 1 and the 0? We can't put a light above it. You can't light it from the left or the right. And there's only 1 option from below, so there has to be a light there. Now we can't put one there. And so now you've got the same situation with this cell right here. How are you going to light this one? The only place you can light that cell from is right there. And now we need to do one of these two. So yeah, this cell, same thing. How are we going to light that cell? It's got to be a light there, and now we can't put one there. And so the only way to light this cell is a light in it, and that cell there, and complete. And there we go. So that was Akari, definitely genuinely approachable. What was I at? 130, 132. Let's see, what was the times on that one? A minute or less is the speedy sloth, and 3 minutes or less is a quick crab. So I got a quick crab on that one. That was pretty good. All right, that was Akari. Moving on. All right, next up is a simple loop by Shy, and it's called simple loop because it really is simple rules-wise. So the rules are draw a non-intersecting loop through the centers of all empty cells. That's it. That's all the rules. We just have to draw a loop. I mean, you can't get much simpler than that, right? So you're clicking and drawing through. You can right click and put X's to say, you know, like the loop can't go through here. But yeah, that's it. Just one loop. It can't cross. It can't do this. You can't have you know, two separate loops, and you have to go through all cells. And that's it. That's the whole rule. So I'm gonna give it a shot now. Let's see. Restart our timer here. So I mean, the easy things are the corners, right? You have to go in and out of every corner. You don't have any other option. And now over here, you don't want to connect, so this has to go that way. This is this way. We can just fill in all of these corners. Again, you don't want to connect here. It has to go like this, like this. This one has to come out of there, and here, down and around that way. So the first thing we can do is all of those. Now that's easy. Now these can't connect. So it has to go here. This connects there. Now we have to. So you can see up here we've got a lot of lines coming in here. It has to connect to the rest of the grid. So somehow it has to come into there and back out. And there's only two places it can come in and out. So it's got to go like that. And so now we have to do that to make sure we get all those cells. And the same thing down here. We have to come into and out of this region in the lower right. So that can't come back in that way. So it's going to have to do that, this way. And now we need to make sure that we can come all the way up there. Now the only way to get this cell, you have to come into and out of each cell, essentially. So you can't go down or right. So it's got to go like this, which is going to have to connect there. Now we got to pick up that one, which is going to connect there. Now this one can't go up or right, so it's got to go that way. And then this one up here is going to have to do that, which pushes this way, pushes that down. Now this, yeah, and so right here we've got 1, 2, 3 ends. You can't connect you have to have an even number of ends to connect to each other. So if this came down, you would only be able to connect 2 of these ends, and you'd have 1 left over. So it can't do that. It's got to go here. These have to go here. And there we go. Complete. Very nice. That was 2:06. Let's see what the time standards were. That gives us the quick crab again. Speedy sloth was 1 minute. Quick crab was 3:30. So there we go. I'll take that. All right, moving on to the next one. All right, next up is a Hashi wokakero, I think is the way you pronounce that. Or most people just call it Hashi. Some people call it crossing bridges. You may have seen these before. These are pretty popular in various, logic puzzle books and stuff. So essentially, this one's completely different than a lot of the other ones because we're not on you're kind of on a grid, but not really. You don't have the grid lines anyways. We're drawing lines. And so the rules say connect pairs of circles horizontally or vertically so that all circles form one connected network. Connections may not cross one another, and any pair of circles may have at most 2 connections between them. Numbers in circles represent the amount of connections they are a part of. So all that's saying is we need to draw lines between things, and this is showing us, it's graying it out when it's completed because you need to have the correct number of connections. This one has 2. This one needs to have 3. You can only do at most 2 in any direction. You can't do more than 2 between 2 circles. And the lines can't cross. So, for example, you couldn't do this and that. And that's it. That's all the rules. And they all have to be connected. You can't have, a separate little, if you draw this here, these wouldn't be able to connect to anything else. They all have to be part of one big grid. So that's it. I'm going to reset the timer and give this one a try. Here we go. All right, so, obviously we can't connect these ones. This one can't connect to either of those ones. These ones have to connect to the 3 like that. Do we have... Okay, this 3 is going to have at least one connection to each of those 3s, because you can only have at most 2 in any direction. So it's got to go like that for sure. Now it's going to have another one. This 3 can have at most 2 this way, so it has to have at least one there, which is the only amount it can... Oh, but it can have one up here, can't it? So it doesn't necessarily have to. It can connect up to the middle. So it doesn't necessarily have to connect to that one. That was wrong. This 3, though, has to connect to both of those again. And so now, what do we do next? The 1. So, right, this 3. The 3 here. It has the 1 this way. It can only have 1 that way at most, so it has to have at least 1 to the middle. And now that prevents this 1 from connecting to the 2 because it can't cross. So the 1 has to connect to the 3 down there, which then prevents this 3 from connecting this way because it can't cross. So it has to pick up its third one this way. Now, somehow these have to connect to the rest of the grid. This one can come over here, but then it can't connect to the rest of the grid through the 1. So it has to connect through this circle, which could go left or down at this point, I guess. If we do this, this section is going to be isolated. So its third one has to be that way, and the 1 has to connect there, which this one can't cross, so it can't go up to the middle. It's got to go there. And now, how is this circle, this section up here, going to connect with the rest of the grid? It can't go to the right, it can't go down. It's got to connect to the 3 over there, which means this 3 can't go up, it would cross, so it has to go this way. The 2 is going to have to go there. Now this 3 could go up, or it could go to the middle, but this 3, it can only have at most 2 to the right, so it's got to have 1 in each direction. And now it's satisfied there. That's got to go there, and we're complete. There we go. All right, so that was Hashi, or Hashi Wokakero by Jovial. That was a fun one too. Let's see how we did with our times. I'm sure we're not a speedy sloth. 1:15 for speedy sloth, 3:30 for quick crabs. So we got a quick crab again. All right. I'm happy with quick crabs. All right, now moving on to the next puzzle. All right, and our last puzzle today is a Kropki, and you might be thinking, I thought we weren't doing Sudokus. Well, this is not a Sudoku. Kropki was actually a puzzle before it got incorporated into Sudoku. It was its own thing, and then people started adding it into Sudoku as well as a variant. But it is a Latin square, so it's very Sudoku adjacent, I would say. It feels like a Sudoku. The main difference is you don't have the 3x3 boxes. Otherwise, it's essentially the same as a Sudoku. So we do have a restriction on repeating digits in the row and column. We have to put the digits 1 through 7 in here. The black dots indicate cells that differ by a 1:2 ratio, and the white dots indicate cells that are consecutive or differ by 1. And that's it. That's all the rules. I'm going to give this one a try now. We're going to reset our timer here. Start it again, and here we go. So, I mean, this top and this right side give us right away that the ends have to be 1 and 7. Because it's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, the 1 down here, that gives us a 2 or a 6 with the 1 or the 7, which means this is 1, 3, or 4 with the black dot. But this can't be a 1 because it would have to have 2s on both sides. And so we can do that. What else can we do? Right here. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a 4 either way. 2, 3, 4. Either way, that's a 4. We're going to have 3, 5, 2, 6. We can do the same thing over here. This is definitely a 4. 3, 5. This is a 2 or a 6. So this has to be 2 or 8 to connect, which would then be 1, or if this is 8, you're going to go 4, 8, and then what? Have to go back to 4. So now we know that's a 2, that's a 1. That gives us the 6, 7, 5, 3, 2, 1. This is now a 4, which means we have 3 and 5 on opposite sides, and it has to be in that order because of this 3. We know this is 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. That 2 needs to connect to a 1 or a 4. And again, it can't be a 1 because it has dots on either side. So that's a 4, 5, 3, 4, 3. This is 2 or 4. It can go either way. Now, it's a little weird because we don't have the boxes, so it feels wrong to put a 4 next to a 4 right there, but it's okay. It's okay in this one. 4, 2, 1 here, so this has to be a 3 and a 6. And we know the order because of the 3 over here. And that's going to continue on, giving us 6 and 3. This is now 2 or 4, and it has to be a 2 because of the 4. And that 2 is going to give us that 4. This is 1 or 3. It has to be a 1. 7. These are 1, 2, and 4. The 1 goes there because of the 2, 4. These are 2 and 4 here. That one has to be the 2 because of the white dot there. This has to be 5 or 7, actually. 5 or 7. This one has to be the 5 because of the dot with the 4 there. That's a 7. This is now a 6. That makes that a 3. We have 5 to finish the row. These are 2, 6, and 7. We already have a 2 and a 6 there. So 2 and 6. The 2 has to go there because of the 6 and because of the black dot. 6 there. This is 7 and 2. These are 6 and 7. They have to go in that order. This is a 5 then, and a 1, and a 4, and this is 1 and 7, and there we go. Solution is correct. Hooray. All right, that felt much more familiar to what we're used to with Sudokus, I feel like. Even though it wasn't, it's almost easier than a Sudoku because you don't have to worry about the boxes. Now, there was a negative constraint, but I don't think I ever used it, unfortunately. But at the same time, genuinely approachable. It's going to be hard to make one that is easy enough for a beginner and is using the negative constraint, so I think that's fine. There you go. That was Kropki. Let's see, 253. I'm sure we didn't get a Speedy Sloth again. Ooh, pretty close. 220 was Speedy Sloth. Quick Crab was 540. I think I could have had the Speedy Sloth if I was not explaining what I was doing and I was really just speedrunning it. I think I probably could have got it on that one. So there we go. That was 5 pencil puzzles. Hope you guys enjoyed those. Those were a lot of fun. Yeah, let me know if you'd like to do more of the gap puzzles in the future. They've been posting them every day. Go check them out, and maybe I'll do some more videos of those in the future. And of course, subscribe, tell your friends. I've got a puzzle hunt. I've had 1.5 people test it now. I've got a second person that's in the process of testing it, and they seem to be enjoying it, so I'm excited to release it. And we're getting there. We're getting really close to the 500, so it'll be coming up soon. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll see you again soon with another puzzle. Thanks. Bye.